Here he is on 10 tires. It is Alec Robbins.
Skip.
Well, welcome in, guys. We are here for another show. I actually put the episodes up. This is like episode 12, I believe, or something like that. 13.
That's so hard to believe.
It's a good thing I can't count that high.
I know, dude.
When did you guys start?
I mean, officially, like I think it was we did one of these. Well, Herbie and I have been doing these for probably a couple months now.
Sure.
Pretty much all season.
Okay.
Yeah, like we started like halfway through the season.
I don't think the only one that we didn't do was Long Beach. I don't think.
Yeah. Well,
we did an Atlanta one. I'm pretty sure.
Possibly.
It's
been a long time ago.
Yeah.
But like, the cool thing is now that we're doing like a weekly show, it was all kind of like, oh, when can we do it? So now the goal is, all right, we're here every week. We got a scheduled time. Let's bring on some people. Let's get people to know these drivers better, because the big challenge is it's not always a big challenge, but like sometimes it's like you want to ask the driver a question, and it's like, hey, well, here's an opportunity. We got a live setting. We got a captive audience, and it's always fun to get drivers from different perspectives. And my favorite questions are usually from the chat anyways. So they always come up with the great...
Throw a bunch of curveballs that aren't related to drifting at all.
Exactly.
And I always feel like I end up learning something that, like, I've known you for a pretty long time. I've announced for you a bunch. I still didn't know that you started out with the one Nissan behind you. I didn't know you even had that hard body.
Yeah.
So like you keep learning stuff about people you've talked to a million times, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's get this thing started. Obviously, we're here again with another great show. We already got some great people in the chat. We got Chuck, we got Reese, Phil.
That's good.
It's great to see everyone here. I'm here joined with Herbie and Sara as usual, and then our special guest of the week is Alec Robbins. Appreciate you coming on here, bud.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to do it.
Awesome. You know, it's Alec and I have actually gone back. How long have I known you? It's probably been 7-ish years, I would think. So this is back.
I think like since I started in FD, and then I think you were at some like MDU stuff too, weren't you?
Yep. Yeah. So I was like, my first year of filming was when you were getting your Pro. It would be your Pro 2 back then license.
Yeah.
And
so that was when I started. So you know me the whole time.
Exactly. So, what a lot of people don't know, as Sara alluded to, is you didn't get started drifting in a normal chassis. You want to explain to people what in the world is behind you to your left, and give me a little backstory on how you got your Pro 2 license.
Yeah. So I started drifting in D21 over there, and it's much evolved from back in 2016 when I got my license. Back then it was kind of it was a pretty basic truck. Like there wasn't a whole lot like put into it. It had stock leaf springs in the back and like lowering blocks and solid axle, like something that shouldn't have been competitive at all. And just drove it consistently and ended up winning some stuff and had a bunch of fun with it. But yeah, that was my first vehicle that I got when I turned 16, and drove it through high school and through college, and then started building it. And that was kind of like my first venture into like really modifying any car. Was playing with that. And like through high school, I had like a stereo in it, and like it was lowered and stuff like that. And then like after college, I did a V8 swap. So it actually had a carbureted small block Chevy in it with an automatic transmission.
Nice.
And because I had no intentions of building this thing to drift.
Yeah.
And so I was just like making a little hot rod, you know?
Yeah.
And then started, like, we went to a drift event, like a local one. Like, I didn't even know drifting existed, like, locally. And ended up going to an event, and there was another dude there with a D21 drifting. And
really?
Yeah, so I was like I built the truck just looking to do burnouts and donuts and like roast tires and shit. And then I saw that and I'm like, I have to try this. So yeah, I started like, because that kind of opened my eyes to like the local drift scene a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
And, back like when I started, this was like 2013, 2012, 2013 in that time frame.
Yeah.
And like the scene was very, very small up here. Like there was like,
You're up in Minnesota, right?
Yep. So up in the north, and there was like a couple events, like not even a handful. There was probably like 4 events a year, up here, and so like it's kind of cool because I've been like kind of a part of the scene as it grew, and to a point now where it's like there's an event almost every weekend. We've got like drift specific tracks up here, and so it's really cool. But yeah, as I built the truck and got into drifting, and like it was really all I had. Like I didn't really have like a lot of money to go spend on like a S chassis or a 350Z or whatever. And I had this thing and it was rear wheel drive. So it's like, well, I'll, work with what I got. And so, yeah, modified that. And then like slowly as I started to get a little better, kept modifying it and built my own angle kit for it and did a bunch of other random, rear mount radiator stuff like that. And just started driving as much as I could with it. Back then it was like I was running like a 235 tire on the back of it.
Yeah.
So it was like not like gripped up or anything. And then the year that I started doing Pro-Am, we put an LS in it and a 6-speed, so a T56.
Yeah.
And it was making like 400 wheel horsepower NA like at the wheels. So nothing crazy. And was still running a 235 tire. And I didn't know like much about even Pro-Am, because it's so far from like where we're at. We're located in central Minnesota, and MDU was the only like real Pro-Am in the Midwest back at that time.
Yeah.
Still kind of is, or was up until 2017. And but yeah, like the closest event for us was a 9-hour drive to St. Louis.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like in 2016, I'm like, well, I just kind of want to like see how I stack up. Like I've never really driven with a lot of like really good drivers.
Right.
And so I wanted to, throw it out there and see what happens.
Right.
And that was like, so our first event was like the big track in St. Louis. So like the fun track that everybody loves. And so yeah, just like going out there with 400 horsepower and a 235 tire on the back and just beating the crap out of the truck. It was so much fun. We ended up getting, I think, 4th place. I think Jeff Donati beat me for 3rd. And then, yeah, so like I was super pumped on the finish. I think we qualified like 3rd. And yeah, like kind of proved we could stack up. I think like, I don't remember who won that event, but I know like Dirk Stratton was there, Andrew Lewis, like a bunch of other, Pro 2 guys, which like at that time, like I'm looking up to them, like they're, were the best that I've ever driven with.
Right. Exactly.
It was really cool to like go and compare to them and like be able to stack up against them. And yeah, that kind of boosted my confidence. And I wasn't really even like planning on running a full season of MDU. Like we were just going to kind of take it event by event and see what happens. Right. And so we did good in St. Louis, and then like every event from there we podiumed. And so it kind of just kept going. Nice. And yeah, so that was the year like I was bummed too, because like one of the big events I was looking forward to doing was Streets of Detroit. And that was the year they had to cancel that one. So I had to miss out on that, and that was a big bummer. And then they rescheduled the last round of that series for out at Virginia International Raceway, which is like a 20-hour drive for us.
Yep.
So we're like, oh my God, like I'm working as much as I can. I still am. I was a mechanic, but I'm not making much money, like just trying to pay for tires to get to these things. And ended up like, we're like, well, if we're, in the points or whatever, we'll, see how it goes and maybe we can make it happen. And we ended up being tied for first going into the last round. So we're like, we have to do this. Like, there's no way we're not going to go. And so, yeah, we ended up making the whole season happen. And, won the championship that year in my rookie year. So it was pretty wild. But, yeah, the truck's it's grown with me for a long time. And then just drove it, like, for a couple more years. And then I think when COVID hit, I got really bored just because we were at home all the time. And so that was when I like cut the back of the truck off and did the 350Z IRS and a bunch of other modifications to it. And
So up until that point, though, it was still leaf spring and everything.
yeah.
That's crazy,
Yeah, so like
dude.
my whole pro-am, like the whole season, I didn't even own toe plates. Like I never checked the front alignment. The rear didn't have an alignment to check. It was
A little
just
eyeball.
so it was like we go to events, we unload the truck, we drive it, and then we go home and wait for the next event. And yeah, it was just like a super simple seat time build, and it just went forever.
That is insane that it was competitive in Pro-Am like that.
Yeah. It was a struggle for sure, like trying to keep up. But that was, I feel like, back in 2016, it was like kind of before Pro-Am really got wild as far as randoms and stuff go.
Yeah, you don't get
it was like a little more
fillets out there with a full blown, like a science project.
Right. Yeah. Like there was a couple guys like Dirk was running Pro 2 at the time, and Andrew. They had like they were on like 285 tires and had I think Dirk was still on A, but still 500-600 horsepower and pretty wild cars. But like the field was so diverse back then. It was kind of a cool time to be in it, and we reminisce about it and think back then that was the good old days. Like didn't need shit to go out there and drive, and but yeah, it was fun. So that was kind of my first taste of competition drifting, really.
Yeah, and the thing was, is you had success the first year, and what do you kind of attribute that success to? Was it just being consistent at what you were doing in practice, or like kind of what was what brought you success there?
I think a lot of it was just the consistency. Like the truck, I couldn't put a lot of grip in the truck, so like we would just air the tires down as far as we could and go, and I couldn't fit a very big tire on the back. So like having a car that was just easy to drive was the biggest thing. Like it is a really fun car to drive just because it almost drives itself. Like you just have to set it on the right line and like super easy, super controllable. And it just worked for some reason. Like it shouldn't have worked as well as it did, but it did. And I think that was a lot of it. Like just being able to stay consistent and be able to put the car on the right line and just hang with people enough that we were able to get wins. And that was a big part of it for sure.
Keeping it simple.
Yeah, and like the thing never broke. Like there was nothing to break on it. Like it was literally just a stock LS truck motor.
Right.
LS2, with a stock LS cam in it, and
back in the day when that was competitive.
Oh yeah.
Now that's like that's not even like keeping up with bash cars nowadays. It seems
right.
Like.
Yeah, exactly. It was like basically a bash car.
Like I see all of these FD drivers like their backup cars, and they're still making like 600 wheel.
Yeah, right.
It's like. Are you really saving that many tires with that? Yeah. I mean, they're all still running the like regular FD side.
100 horsepower. You know, it's just as competitive as their actual pro car. It's like
it is good.
Right now, it's got just like a bone stock 5.3 in it, and I have to I've been wanting to like do all this stuff to it, and I just keep telling myself like, no, you have to keep it like low horsepower. Like that's the fun of it. Like don't go crazy with it. Because the whole point is to like not go through tires and be able to drive events and like last the whole time and stuff. So
exactly.
And then I've been kind of like turning it back into a street car too. So like it's had plates on it like the entire like at MDU. There was a couple events like Indianapolis. We drove the event. We got I think second or third place, and then we drove the truck from the track to our hotel and like cruised around downtown with it, and like it was wild.
That's amazing.
I did like a photo shoot with it, and because we could drive it anywhere, it was fun.
That's sick.
But I'm trying to get it back to that, to where I can like drive it down the street, and it's set up to like haul. There's a spot in the back I can haul 4 tires with it. So I kind of want to make it like a self-sufficient, like almost like a drift week car, where I can like drive it to events and then, go through whatever tires I have and still be able to drive it home. And so that's kind of the goal of where it's at right now.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to our next topic here. I'm gonna quick switch over screens. I always have to remember what I'm doing when I do this, though. Second screen. Yeah. All right. So now, and what I got to do is change the screen so that you guys can see it. But basically, what I brought up is this is the truck.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's not only is it like it's cool, but like your liveries have always been kind of wild. Just like a whole lot of stuff going on, like always crazy.
Yeah, I've got all the sheet metal from that truck. Let's see if you can see it hanging up on the wall.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So I had to save it all.
Yeah, that's neat.
Good memories.
This is still one of my favorite liveries that I've seen out there.
Yeah.
On trucks. But again, even your pro cars have all had really like crazy colors. Like I think this year was your most subdued car or color.
Yeah, for sure.
As term of liveries. But what's kind of like the idea behind like some of your crazy colored liveries?
So there's not really like any major rhyme or reason to it. For ever since we were in Pro 1, we had this one designed, and that was our first one, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then we just had fun with it. Like I really liked my 2019 car. That was probably one of my favorite liveries so far. That was when we had it was white with like the red flames on the side.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, like once I made it up to Pro 1, we had we started. That was when we were with Facetto, and he had a guy down in the Twin Cities that he hooked me up with that did the wraps, and that's kind of when we really got crazy with it, because we were doing like all these wild designs and like reflective wraps and all kinds of crazy stuff, and when a lot of that was just the designer, he was really good, and he would really like to do like these intricate designs and really get in depth with it. So a lot of the time we would give him like a generic like color scheme or a theme to go with, and just kind of let him run wild with it. And he just had a blast like doing all this crazy crap. And it was fun for us because like every year was like so much different. And yeah, we just had fun with it. And it was cool, but it also like it's tough because like we don't get a lot of recognition for like the wrap, you know, like people can't like look at our car and like know who it is.
Yeah.
So vastly different every year. But yeah, that was kind of what that was about. And then, so actually the livery this year, we ended up going back with the people who designed the truck wrap. And that was kind of what we designed it around, was we wanted the same color scheme as what we had on the truck and kind of go back to those roots. And
nice.
For the black and white, and then we always ran the red underglow and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that came from. Yeah.
Sick.
Gotcha.
Any big plans to change up the livery for next season?
I don't think so. I think we're going to try and leave it relatively the same. I'd like to do like a little bit more of an accent color, maybe like a pattern on the front, because the blank white front kind of looks a little plain to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd like to add some like chrome or some reflective accents or something to make it stand out a little more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's always been a favorite of mine when you do some of your crazy stuff. But
yeah, I don't know if you remember like a lot of when we had like the reflective wraps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was trying to quick pull up a picture, but
yeah, it's hard to because you can't really get like a good picture of it. But it was really neat because like when I had the black car, I think it was in like 2021, it was black with a bunch of like paint splats on it.
Yeah.
You took a picture of that car with your flash on your camera.
Yeah.
Yo, the balloons.
He's got his balloons up. Wait, Herbie, did you shoot his car back in 2019? Or do you remember shooting it?
I know a lot of the photographers always said it was really hard
up for one pro spec.
Hard to focus on.
Yeah, they'll tell some of the photographers and videographers will tell us that like certain cars, like they love looking at, but they hate shooting. I'm wondering if your 2019 livery was one of them.
Yeah, that was definitely one of them.
I was only at Irwindale as.
Hey, we'll ask Shutter Slayer, since he wants to be yapping in the chat, if he remembers shooting that livery, if it was difficult.
It was this livery, right?
Yep, that's the one.
Oh, that one was sick.
So yeah,
I like that one a lot.
Take a picture with your flash on, like it would it was almost like a negative. Like if you
Yeah.
turn the colors negative, it would look like that. It was really wild.
Like those jackets celebrities wear when they don't want a picture of them.
Yeah.
A little counterintuitive for a
Right,
sport that
exactly.
relies on media, but sick nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
it's sick.
Yeah, so that was just one topic I want to hit. I'm trying to switch back. I'm trying to do
Yeah.
like 4 things at once right here. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. I'm
Where is
gonna
it?
take a look at our little list here and see if we got any other questions for you that revolve around that. I mean, so we
Well-
asked you about the livery for next year.
Well-
Any crazy new plans for next year? Are you going to be running Pro 1 again, keeping things relatively the
That's the
same?
plan. We're planning on doing Pro 1 again, and then I want to try and get to some like grid life events again, because we didn't do a lot last year, but I know in 2022 we hit Gingerman, we hit Colorado. I'd like to do some more of those and just bring the truck out to those,
Cool.
because that thing would be really fun to just hot lap in.
I think so. I think it'd be fun to watch too.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just something different, and it's such a
Yeah.
blast to drive because
We need more trucks.
Yeah, exactly. Just drive it wide open, and
Yeah.
All right, take it easy. Luke thinks gonna bring over all the Helixes or whatever in a second. You
yeah.
say
Actually, so
or Hiluxes, however.
there's been a handful of guys that I've been friends with over the years that we've just kind of talked about, just because we all have drift trucks, and we're gonna try and get to one event next year, like get all the drift trucks like around the country all together.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, just to have a bunch of them. I think that'd be a blast.
Yeah.
Drift truck tandem train with
yeah,
like
exactly.
5 of them all together. That'd be
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah, and then like Drift Appalachia, I'd really like to get to some of those.
That would be cool.
That would be a blast in the truck too.
Yeah.
So, the truck itself, trucks are not legal in FD, correct?
No,
And why is that?
that's a question for Kevin. I think basically just because it's a full frame, like it's got a full chassis underneath it, and so it doesn't really have like crumple zones. And then on top of that, like with the suspension rules that they have, like the mounting points that you can't move and things like that, regardless of if you could do that, it wouldn't really be competitive.
Yeah.
And the weight, like they're way heavier. There's a lot of different things. But yeah, with like the suspension on a truck, there's so much you have to move around in order to make them work.
Right.
So it makes it difficult to fit in with the rule book.
Gotcha. Yeah, so obviously you now drive a 350Z in FD, and it's an interesting chassis because I've always wondered how people would be making it competitive. Obviously, Jeff Jones has a 370. I assume that would drive pretty similar to yours. But yours seems to be pretty grippy in comparison to like Jeff's, where his seems to be a little more floaty. Like, is that just kind of how you like to drive your car, or like kind of talk to me about that kind of stuff?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's the setup and the way I drive. It's kind of weird because I mean the Z's themselves, they seem to get a lot of hate online for not having like a lot of grip. But I've never really seemed to have any issue with it. But I've also not really driven a lot of other cars.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it too. Because right when I finished with the truck in 2016, we went and drove a Z right in Pro 2. And that's kind of what I stuck with. I've driven like a couple S chassis and I hated them, honestly. But that could be just the way they were set up.
Right.
Like I haven't ever driven like a really well set up one. So I'd like to do that. I'd like to be able to drive a couple other people's cars just to see kind of
taste of the world. Yeah.
Is there a car that, if there's any car in FD that you'd like to just test drive, what car would it be, you think?
Ooh. Probably one of the E46s.
Yeah.
Dang, okay, going completely different manufacturer.
Maybe maybe Dylan's car or even Adam's E36.
Cool.
Just because they're so like they have such a following and like such a praise that everybody loves them and always says how good they drive. And I just like to kind of feel that and like see what all the hype is actually about.
Exactly. Well, the interesting thing is, and I think, I can't remember who we were talking to. It was one of the drivers, I think it was a couple episodes ago. And they said, like, one of the things that is kind of a requirement now in FD, in Prospect now is a quick change. But I didn't say anything at the time, but I thought it was kind of funny because you don't run a quick change, or at least not this year. You didn't.
Yeah.
You want to explain kind of just that aspect of your program?
So up until 2022, we didn't run a quick change then either, and that was simply like money.
Right.
I
Yeah.
didn't have the money for a quick change,
Yeah.
and so I had like 3 different stock ratios, and I would switch them out for different tracks, and it was obviously a huge pain if you had to like if you did a lap at a track and then you're like, okay, this isn't going to work, and then you had to change a whole diff. Obviously, it's not a quick change.
Right. Yeah.
So that was difficult, but like in 2022 and 23, I did do a quick change, and it's definitely worth it.
Right.
This car I just finished, and I didn't have the money or time to get one in before Long Beach, so I just stayed what it was. But the good thing is
And this is stock 350Z diff, correct?
Yep, stock axles, stock diff. Yep.
Oh shit.
And like we had enough data, like and wheel speed data from all of the tracks that I could have the right ratio going into the event. And surprisingly, like for us at least, Long Beach, Atlanta, and Orlando are all basically the exact same wheel speed for all those tracks. And it's weird because they're all such vastly different tracks. But we all always run like right at that same wheel speed. Even when we had the quick change, like my first year, I remember I got the quick change and we put it in the car. We geared it for Long Beach. And then I don't think we took that gear set out till after Orlando or Atlanta. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing? Why did I get this? Spend all this money and we're not even changing.
Just to sound cool.
Yeah, right.
But
yeah.
So, was it a massive jump for you to go from the hard body to the Z?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was there a learning curve involved?
They definitely drive a lot different because, like, with the truck, with the solid axle, like there was no like dynamic camber change or toe change like as you get on throttle, and so I was really used to like having side bite off throttle. So a lot of the time, like in the truck, if I'm going wide in a corner and I need to tighten up the radius, I would get out of the throttle and kind of like tighten it up that way.
Yeah.
Like just kind of off throttle coasting. Whereas with the Z, you don't really have a lot of that side bite off throttle. So you have to use the throttle to basically keep yourself on track. And so that was definitely a big learning curve. Like, because I remember I would drive the car and like, if I would panic, I would get out of the throttle rather than getting in it. And like, just that reaction and that, like, just because you don't think about it when you're driving,
right?
You just
Instinct,
react that way. Exactly. So that was definitely, I think, the biggest change. And then the seating position is a lot different. Like you sit further back in the Z, but actually the wheelbase is exactly the same between the two, which is kind of funny.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was definitely a learning curve, but it wasn't, the worst thing ever. It was good to get to learn because I like going into Pro 2, I had like zero idea on like toe adjustments and camber adjustments and all of that stuff. So that was kind of a learning curve. The first year we drove, we were with CoreWorks.
Yep.
And, so luckily with them, they had at least a little bit of an idea of what was going on. So they were able to set the car up for me and kind of set me in the right direction.
Yeah. Who would you say kind of gave you knowledge on suspension setup and what to do and kind of that whole knowledge base? Because that's a whole nother part of drifting that is
like the basic setup. Kerry Brown was working at CoreWorks at the time, and he gave me a lot of that basic like setup knowledge. And obviously he was there at the events, like helping or being crew chief for the car. So like doing gear changes, because that car had a quick change too, and he was doing gear changes, and I could tell what the car was doing in certain areas, and he was able to kind of set the car up how I wanted it. But it was still like it was hard because it was hard to tell if a lot of the changes needed to be in my driving or in the car. So that's still something that I kind of struggle with, like whether or not I need to make changes in the suspension or if I just need to drive a little bit different in certain areas.
Right.
Which I'm I'm kind of getting to the point now where I realize that I need to be more confident in what I'm doing and be able to make changes to the car. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. And I think over the years, like throughout like 2018 and up to 2022, my brother-in-law, he was crew chief, and we would throw ideas back and forth all the time. And we did a lot of kind of testing with different things and like reading about things and kind of learning the ropes on how to set it up. So we did pretty good with that, like a lot of the shock setup, and then just the dynamic alignment and stuff. Like I would have the car in my garage, and we'd pull springs out of it and just check the dynamic camber and kind of see where we're at with different things and trying to get the most contact patch out of it. And the last few years, I feel like you can never stop learning about that.
Yeah.
Because there's always like people doing new things and people trying to find that little bit of extra grip. And so yeah, this year, in the past, it's always been like soft, make your car soft. You want it to squat, you want it to, use that dynamic toe to your advantage. And this year we kind of went against that. Like Ken just had a really good tire the past few seasons. So being able to rely on that a little bit more and then set the car up a little bit stiffer, I think that makes the car way more predictable.
Yeah.
Like,
and you get a snappy transition, and you get that cool X factor, which isn't a thing anymore. But
yeah.
It kind of still is a little.
Yeah, I mean, we're still looking for it
Right.
as media and fans.
Yeah. But yeah, like just making the car a little bit more stable everywhere has been, I think, a really big improvement this year.
Absolutely.
And so looking forward to continuing on with that next year. Luckily, the car's all in one piece and straight still after this year. So in the off season, we don't have a ton to do. But yeah, there's a couple little changes. I'd like to go a quick change if we can again, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Definitely a little pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like
because like with the Z that we've got aluminum rear subframe.
Okay.
So modifying it's not quite as straightforward. It is. I just don't have a TIG welder, so I do like all my own fabrication on everything from aluminum. So I MIG weld and do the cage and everything. But yeah, just the TIG welding's not on my table right now. So that makes it a little more difficult. And then it also sucks too because it takes so much work to modify these subframes for the quick change. And then it's also very easy to bend these subframes. So like you do all the modification to it and get the quick change in, and then like you bend a pickup point on the subframe. It's like you gotta redo everything.
That's rough.
Yeah. I think in past, it's been a lot better these past 2 years. But I think in like 2022, when we had that black livery on the car, I think I went through 4 subframes in that season.
Wow.
Jeez, all rears?
Yeah. I've never been to front subframe yet, so they're pretty solid in these things, but the rears are.
Yeah, so what's the availability on the parts like for the Z's? I mean, we talked to some S chassis guys, and like the subframe issue is a serious issue. It sounds like now.
Yeah. They're not that bad yet. You can still find them around. They're at any junkyard or people parting out cars all the time. So at this point, they're pretty
abundant still
available. Yeah.
Was the 370 and the 350 the same?
No. So the 370 they switched. So the 370, the front is aluminum and the rear is steel.
Oh, okay.
And then the pickup points are a little bit different too.
Yep.
So they're not like quite interchangeable. You can put a 370Z diff or subframe in a 350.
Yeah.
But that's against the rules. So
that too. Yeah. That's also, yeah.
They're not making it easy on you.
No
luck.
Damn.
Because a lot of stuff will bolt up, especially with Nissan. Like I remember I had a VQ in my S13, and the gas pedal of all things bolted directly up.
Yeah.
Like zero modification, and I was like, what?
Even a lot of random stuff, even in the truck.
Yeah.
Like
that's crazy. That's cool though.
Yeah. So, But yeah, it's well, actually, with the 350 and the 370, like the WiseFab kits are identical.
Wow.
So like if you buy a WiseFab front or rear grip kit for the Z, it's labeled 350/370.
Okay.
There's a couple of different with the 370. There's a couple of add-on parts that you need that are slightly different, but like the control arms and everything and the knuckles are all identical.
How about
So
that?
very, very similar.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've always find fascinating is drivers' jumps from basically Pro Am to Pro 2, and then the jump from Pro 2 to Pro.
Yeah.
And I find, so I mean, we talked about a little bit the Pro Am to Pro 2 jump, but like, what was it jumping from Pro 2 to the Pro Series? Now where you're driving with the biggest names in drifting?
It was fun. I enjoyed that jump.
Yeah.
Because it was
Did you wait until you were prepared? Is that why you thought it was fun? Like you didn't go into it?
No, because we got like second in the championship in Pro 2.
Okay.
And we're just gonna do it. We were not prepared.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, we had a motor put together finally, and we made a decent amount of power, and it was fun because like we were on the Achilles tire too,
Oh yeah.
which was a really good tire back then.
Yeah.
And so like keeping up with people like really wasn't an issue. I feel like even these days, like a lot of dudes, even in pro spec, they put so much grip in their cars. There's not really like, I don't feel like a huge difference in the pace, aside from the tire.
Okay.
The tire, I think, makes most of the difference. But yeah, like it was, I guess I wouldn't say easier than I thought, but it was not as drastic of a difference in speed and like the car.
Yeah.
So like the driving was way more wild because I could push myself more.
Yep.
And there was a lot of times when like in my first season that I would go into corners like chasing dudes and be like, there's no way we're going to make it around this corner. And just like we'd be able to stay matted and like the car would just pull through. And it's like you learn so much from doing that, from chasing fast guys and learning how early you can get on throttle and how late you can brake and like all that stuff. So that was really fun, like learning that and just like being able to push to the edge all the time.
Yeah.
And not having to hold back.
A little confidence.
Yeah.
With the company that you're keeping there.
Yep, exactly. And like 90% of the Pro 1 field is going to be pretty consistent in the lead, so you don't have to like hold back so much in the chase and worry about anything.
Do you have a favorite driver that you like to drive with?
Just
Yeah.
I don't really have a favorite. No. I would say any of the top dudes, like James, obviously. Odie is really fun to chase. He's always fast. So it's always fun to like chase him and like see how the car stacks up. Like if you chase, I feel like if you can chase him, like in practice, and you can set your car up to like pace him, then you're pretty good for the weekend.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just super fun driving with everyone. And then like a lot of the dudes that you become friends with over the years, like Simon and Dan and Derek Madison, like we drove MBU in 2016 together. And like just driving with all those dudes, it's kind of like just driving with your friends.
Yeah.
You go to bash events and you drive with them. And we're out in Pro 1 trying to keep that same vibe, really. And,
awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. Like it's hard to stay in the right mindset sometimes. But I feel like when you're driving with a buddy out there, it kind of helps keep you in that,
For
not
sure.
serious mindset.
Do you think the rest of the demands of moving up to Pro 1 affected you a bunch, like financially, travel, time off work, all that stuff?
Funny thing with that, we actually got really lucky because COVID hit, and our first year was the COVID year.
Ooh, okay.
So it was 4 rounds.
Our travel was only 4 rounds.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, so we had double headers, but we only had to travel for 4 rounds. So it really wasn't much of a jump in that aspect.
So it's like it's like easing you into it.
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of had like a little bit of a stepping stone. And
Nice.
so that was kind of a blessing in disguise. And then yeah, so like, and then we were kind of able to prepare a little bit more for the following season. It definitely would have been a struggle if we had to drive to 8 rounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, and it was nice because I think Seattle was the only track that I hadn't driven before. And
Okay.
then that was also the first year, I think, of New Jersey, if I remember right.
I think you might be
Maybe
right.
that was the
Yeah.
following year. But yeah, so like and that was the year that they changed St. Louis, I believe.
Right.
I drove.
So there's a bunch of new tracks for people as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of nice.
Well,
It kind of leveled the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah.
So
Yes.
I got a couple other questions here.
Yeah.
One of the question is, do you think the Pro-Am comps prepared you for the jump well, or like so that four round series that MDU did back in the day?
Yeah.
And just kind of your opinions on like some of these like shootout events where you basically it's one weekend and you fight for a license kind of thing.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I feel like the driving better prepares you for it now. But I feel like back when we were driving and they were doing like the whole series, and like for us it was like a pretty good amount of travel for all the rounds. So I feel like that kind of got us more prepared for the travel aspect of it, and taking time off and like getting out and doing that, and preparing for that. But yeah, I don't think the driving wasn't quite up to like Pro 2 level.
Yeah.
I don't think. So I think that was probably the biggest challenge. Was
Yeah.
like once we went from Pro Am to Pro 2, the driving was just. It was. I feel like that was a bigger jump than Pro 2 to Pro 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's
Gotcha.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
We got Phil asking too, what's the most common mistake people make when getting to pro, leading from that?
From like Pro 2 or Pro Spec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know what the biggest
Been a
mistake.
while for you, dude, you know?
Yeah. I guess I know like my first year, I had to I had a fast car, and so like just trying to calm down a little bit and drive a little bit smoother.
So you're
Come on.
saying make the car looser
Yeah, essentially.
because everyone tries to drive
Easier
with
to
max
drive.
grip.
That's definitely that's definitely a big one. 'Cause, yeah, like my first year, like I came out swinging and I was super aggressive, and yeah, it was a challenge a lot of the time, and we were still kind of trying to figure out the car at that time too,
Yeah.
because we at that point we had a ton of forward bite in the car
Right.
and not a lot of side bite, so like slowing down into like reducing or smaller radius corners would always bite me, and you're just trying to get the car slowed down.
Yep.
Really.
100%. And if I remember correctly, I mean, I not throwing anyone under the bus, but I think that car was having issues too a lot of the time too, if I remember.
Yeah,
season.
yeah. Our first year, yeah, we definitely had issues. So like, I had a bunch of fueling issues actually. Because I was running a stock fuel tank back at that time.
This guy's just running on a hope and a dream, baby.
All right. Yeah. Stock diff, stock axles, stock fuel tank, like super basic. And yeah, it ended up being like I don't know if it was like pulling a vacuum in the tank. Like we were pushing so much fuel out of the car and out of the tank that I feel like it would like vapor lock or something. But yeah, we got hooked up with radium after that, and we did a surge tank, and that took care of all of those issues. Because yeah, my very first event, I ran into that issue a bunch, and so it was like super frustrating. But that was still I think my first event, like my very first battle, was with Kangushi, and he had the new Supra at the time, and we won my first battle and made top 16 our first event, and so that was really cool. And
A little pat on the back.
Yeah, and then I think my second, because that was when we were having double headers. So then the next day, I think I went like 2 or 3 one more times with Denver Cat, and
Right.
yeah, it was wild. But yeah, that was when we had the car cut off. That was one of the one more times I think both of our cars shut off.
Oh yeah, the
But
classic
yeah, it was fun.
double zero. Like, oh,
Yep.
send them again, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Always.
but do you have a favorite battle that you have had in your pro career so far?
I think I do. I just have to think of it. There's been a couple of good ones. I think in Orlando in like 20, I think it was 2021 also. Um, I It's not really like a favorite battle, but it's just like when you come off the track feeling like you left everything on the track and
Yeah.
you drove good. I feel like those are the best events, and I think that event I beat Essa, and then I didn't beat. Had a really good battle with Odie.
Yeah.
So it's nice to come off the track and be like, hell yeah, that was, regardless of the result, that was fucking
It
awesome.
was cool. I mean, even if you can like one more time some of the top guys, it's just like it's just like you can show you're there, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got something.
Yeah. And then like I think last year I had a really fun one with Dean Kearney in Utah. I like initiated like on his door, and I thought for sure I was gonna hit him, and he got on throttle right at the right time, and it was just super fun because that's like a super fast initiation.
Yeah.
And like I was watching the replay of it, and like after initiation, like my car is basically right behind his, so you can't see me up until the like first clip. And yeah, that was super fun. But yeah, there's been like moments like that throughout all of Pro One that I've had some good moments. Yeah, it's like putting together the full thing and taking a win. That's a
what's usually your Achilles heel? Like what usually gets you in battles?
I would say probably just getting in my head and not driving like calmly. That's a big one. That's probably the biggest. I've had a couple of like little random car issues, but I feel like my car has been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
So I would say either just getting in my head, and then another big one is just the car setup too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in practice, like you get out of practice and you hit the track, and I feel like the weekends when you have a really good first run, I feel like that's like, if you can do that, like the weekend's going to be good. Like you're going to be set. Because you can just make small changes and run through it and everything works. And I think a lot of that is just like, if you get a good run your first run, it just puts that in your mind. It gives you confidence. And regardless, like if the car is any better than it was, the last round, or maybe it's just in your head and like you get off the trailer and like, hell yeah, that felt good. This is going to be a good weekend. And then it just sticks. I don't know.
Right.
It seems like that's always a good indicator for me, at least. Like I get off the first run and you can tell like it was either it felt good or it felt really bad, or sometimes it's like almost there. But like this year, I know like there was a couple events that I felt really good, like St. Louis. I felt super good at. Like I was able to run like a really good line and like consistent.
Right. Well, you've been good at St. Louis. You qualified number 1 there a couple years ago. So
yeah, and like I feel like this year I was even more confident than I was that year. And that time I didn't go as hard as I should have. Like I left a little bit on the table, and that bit me because then Ben was right there and he took the win.
I remember that battle. That was like one of the better battles of the weekend.
Seating bracket, and that's just how Pro One is, though. Like you can't leave anything on the table. And that's a really hard thing to do because it's like that you have to be there at all times. So you feel like you have to drive really hard at all times. So yeah, like trying to hold back in the right spots is definitely a challenge. And just knowing when to do that is it's tough. Like I think that's probably the biggest thing is like
Yeah.
being
Well-
able to stay calm and like know exactly where you need to be and not like overcorrect yourself.
Right.
essentially.
Discipline.
Because I feel like you can get away with that for somewhat in pro spec to where if as long as you have a good like 100-point lead, like, and then you I mean, not a safe chase, but you do a good chase but you don't have to take a bazillion risks to, you know, stay on people's doors, then you can get away with a lot of that. But once you get into that pro level, like, there's just no room for that.
Yeah, and it's like all the dudes in Pro 1 are there for a reason. Like they can all drive. And so it's hard to tell, you know, like even like with Ben in St. Louis, like he had car issues and he like wasn't looking good in practice. And then competition came and he was fucking right on me.
Yep.
Right.
Like it's just you need to be ready at all times. And that's difficult because like I said, it's hard because you need to chill out at times, but also you can't.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Conversely, do you think there were any, you know, challenges you had to face this season specifically, or any rounds that you just were like really bummed on or wanted to be able to redo, or anything along those lines?
Irwindale was tough just because we blew the motor up.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like that was gonna be a good round too. Like that was one of the ones where like I came out and first lap was like fucking awesome. Like
Right.
I've had a lot of issues at that track with the first outer zone
Mm-hmm.
and being consistent on it. I always end up in that wall.
Yep.
And like right off the trailer, like I was able to like throw it right up on the wall and ride it like smoother than this, because this was a new car this year, and so it's a lot of it's set up like pretty different than my old car. Like we're way stiffer in suspension, and sway bar settings and stuff like that, and it just worked really good at that track. I've never like felt confident at that track.
Yeah.
And being able to like get out and do a really good first lap, it's like, all right, we're ready to go, and and then the motor let go. So
that's almost worse than like not doing good, just like not doing kind of bad one round, is when you're like, you know, you're on a tear and then mechanical failure.
Yep. And actually this year I think we had more mechanicals than any year. Just with this engine, we had issues just because we had it so turned up. So this was basically a backup motor that we had in the car all year, and it had like stock heads. It was just an LS3 with just forged pistons, rods, and stock heads, and we were just trying to put so much boost through it to make the power that we needed that it was just like extremely stressful on belts. Because like in 2023, I ran the same belts on my car the entire season.
Yeah.
I changed it, I think, for like the last round. Like it drove it, like no issues. And then this year we had I think Atlanta, we went through a couple of the rear belts. And so that was the first time we ended up going through rear belts, and that happened with in both of my runs. So with Turk, it came off like right at the finish line, but I was able to like keep it sideways.
Yep.
And with Burkett too, it did the same thing. Like basically right around like there's the last S corner, you know, and right around the left hand corner, it came off. Yeah. And I like had to like drag handbrake forever and like clutch kick it just to try and like keep a drift going. So yeah, that was a bummer. I think had it stayed together for that, we would have been able to move on from that battle too.
Yeah. Well,
that was actually probably one of my favorite battles of the year, and like up there with the other ones, because it was fun.
Oh yeah.
It ended, but it was still like I could walk away from that weekend like, hell yeah, that was a good weekend regardless. So those are always the fun ones.
Absolutely. We got a couple actually questions in the chat here. One from Phil. Can you quantify the driving difficulty increase from Pro Am to Pro Spec and then Pro Spec to Pro?
That's a hard question.
It is a hard question, but
is he supposed to like scale a 1 to 10? You think?
Well, it's just what would probably be easier is just obviously in Phil's case he's a Pro Am driver. So what's when you made the jump, kind of what were the things that people were doing that you had to learn to do in Pro 2?
The speeds for me were a lot bigger. Again, that was like a long time ago. So we were going from like, I went from 400 horsepower in the truck to, I think we were making 600 horsepower in the Z.
Yep.
So that plus we were on, that was the 255 Achilles.
Yep.
So the cars were just like vastly faster.
Yeah, which they run the GT Radios, which are fast tires now too. So.
Yeah, those are also really good. I've driven on those a few times, and they're good. But yeah, so like, I think that was a big difference these days. I suppose it's probably pretty similar. I think a lot of the Pro Am cars, though, I feel like are set up close to where the Pro Spec cars are.
Yeah.
So I think that gap is kind of narrowing. I think like jumping from Pro Am to Pro Spec to from Pro Spec to Pro 1 are more equally balanced now.
Yeah.
And it depends on like who you're driving with too. Like at the Pro Am level, the skill level varies a lot more.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's true.
That makes it difficult to like. Some of the Pro Am battles compared to the Pro Spec battles are probably like night and day difference.
Yeah.
Like Pro Spec, like when you're at like, the top 10 drivers, I'd say in like Pro Spec are probably pretty close to Pro 1 level.
Gotcha.
Or can jump up and like, hang
be competitive kind of thing.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge also with Pro Spec is there's so many drivers. There's a lot more drivers in Pro Spec than there are in Pro.
Yeah.
I think the skill level might span a bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing too is when I went from Pro Am to Pro 2, back in Pro 2 up to like, I think it was 2017, the year that I got second in the championship. I think there was like 60 some drivers and they only did top 16.
Yep.
So I remember those days. You would show up and I think like of those 60, it's only 16 drivers. Everyone else load your stuff on the trailer and see you later.
Orlando, my first event that year, I didn't qualify.
Yeah.
I missed out by 1 point, so I qualified 17th out of the however many drivers.
Damn.
So yeah, that was rough.
So I'm curious then to hear your thoughts on the system they do now, the battles.
Seating bracket.
The seating bracket.
Yeah.
If you had asked me in St. Louis, I would have said I fucking hate it. And in Seattle, it was not so bad.
Right.
But it depends. It's tough for me. I really liked qualifying. I think qualifying was more stressful, but at the same time, you're not relying on another driver to like possibly knock you out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like you're up against everybody.
Right.
But it's really on you at the end of the day, kind of thing.
Variable in a tandem battle compared to a qualifying run, and so that's really difficult. Like it's not necessarily just up to you to make a good run. So I would personally like to go back to qualifying.
Yeah,
I think that was kind of a fun way to do it, and I think it made more sense that way.
Yeah.
But I can see like from a viewer standpoint, like it is fun to watch the tandem battles over that.
Right. Well, it's a challenge because it seems to create a larger gap in the field, because once you kind of get stuck in the seating bracket, it's really hard to get out of it.
Yeah, we were in it. St. Louis, we were in it, and Seattle. So yeah, it's like it's in and out, and it's tough because like for the dudes who like start off in it, like in order to make it to your first top 16, like you have to win at least 2 battles, and that's not easy. And
nope.
So going from, and it might even be more than that. Like if you go farther into the seating bracket, like I think it helps because you get that little bit of more tandem practice.
Yeah,
and that's nice. But yeah, it's a lot. So
Local makes a good point here. He said seating brackets would work better if everyone showed up.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing. We were so pissed in St. Louis because Vaughn and Cuny didn't show up, so we got knocked out in the first round of the seating bracket.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there wasn't even 32 drivers in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was-
that's definitely something they
We're
need to
sitting on
change.
the sideline
If
and
they,
we're there,
yeah.
and these dudes are in top 32, and they're somewhere across the country.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was
We've heard
frustrating.
that
I think
before.
that was kind of it was a known issue,
Yeah.
when that happened. And
Yeah.
I think they're going to remedy that for next year.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's just
That was definitely a frustrating turn of events.
a little smack in the face.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's just one of those things where it's like you don't need there's no reason for a buy run. It's a pretty
Mhm.
easy fix to
Yeah.
get rid of that buy run. It's just like
Exactly.
why, guys? Like we wanted
Throw 'em in
we
the
did the
fight.
seating bracket for the show. Why don't we do
Figure
more
it out.
things to make sure the run of the show runs better? It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nice. It's kind of nice having the day to on the prospect weekends to just watch prospect and kind of relax.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's nice because as long as the car is not broken,
Right.
Yeah.
hang out with everybody. And
And you're still in the show and everything.
Yeah.
Still got Saturday looking forward. Yeah. It's like, all right.
For
and
sure.
when there's car issues, you got a day to fix it. So
Yeah.
that's all good.
Yeah, a little less stress on
Mhm.
you and everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
But being drifters, we procrastinate, and then by that night,
For sure, dude. For sure.
What sleep?
all we
You don't
gotta do
need
is
that.
work on the car tomorrow. It's like, all right, let's
we can
get
wait. We got
going.
all this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, 1 p.m. It's like,
Yeah.
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 Phil also asked, you have a funniest FD moment, track or off track?
I'll have to think about that one. I don't have anything that pops into my head right off the bat.
I mean, the reality is we're hanging out with a bunch of drifters and silly stuff happens all the time.
Oh yeah, all the
Right.
That is true.
Constantly. It's hard to pick just one, really.
Yeah.
Just do a 360 in the pit.
It's always a good time in the rental cars. Going back to
Sick.
the hotel.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like they really shouldn't give you rental cars.
Right. And they always let the race car drivers drive. So
Of course, because you guys are the professional drivers.
Hey, you got to test it out too, see if you want to buy one.
yeah, right.
So we also got a question here, and you can answer if you want to.
Yeah.
At your discretion. They want to know what went down in Jersey from your perspective.
Ooh, there was almost a boxing match.
That was something.
We saw it.
You were just driving the car.
It was
Driving.
so that was another like I said, coming off the trailer, first run, you want to make a good run and set your weekend up. And it just so happened I was set up to throw it on hard, and Mohan had a different mindset, and he was taking it easy his first lap, and they had to not clash, and there was contact, and yeah, it sucks because for both of us, in any situation out there, no one wants to crash.
Mhm.
And so I was upset because I felt like he was going slower than he should have been, and he was kind of offline. And I'm upset because I just wrecked my car on the first lap too, and so I'm not happy about it. And then he comes up, rightfully mad as well.
Yeah. Mhm.
And he kind of let loose a little bit and said some words, and I gave him the finger, and because I'm dude, I don't want to hear you talking right now. My car is smashed too. I don't want to deal with this.
Right.
And yeah, he almost came at me a little bit, but it's tension and everything's running high, lots
Yeah.
of emotion in it, and
Well, you guys put so much money into all of this stuff. It's
Yeah.
just to see money dollar signs just go
Yeah,
up as
exactly.
soon as first run of the weekend. It's just like,
Yeah.
It's a
That would
punch to
make
gut.
anyone mad, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Both of you have quite the journey to get
Yeah,
to
so I
Jersey
think
on top.
we were both very upset, and we've talked about it since then, and it's fine. But yeah, it was funny in hindsight,
but you go back to your earlier point, and it's like, how hard do you push? It's like, do you want to throw the practice run away, just letting this guy drive offline, and you're like, okay, well, this isn't helpful for me,
Yeah.
And
So,
or do
like,
you want to like actually try and push and really make
yeah.
sure that it's a good practice lap,
And like usually like before the event, like we'll talk about that, like kind of have like a strategy of what we're gonna do.
Right.
And for that particular event, we're like, I'm gonna try and drive every lap like it's the final. Like I'm not gonna give people room in practice. Like I really want to work on my tandems
Yeah.
and that proximity and hold that proximity. And yeah, like I said, it clashed with his the way he was gonna do practice, and he was taking it easy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's almost. But like you said, like you don't want to throw your lap away, but it's hard to hold back in situations like that too.
Yeah.
And it was
going good up until then, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, you were just driving.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
doing your thing.
Like obviously, I'm not going to hit him on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Like there is no ill intent or anything like that. It's just the two mindsets going into the run were different.
Oh, and then I kicked them all out. Oh, sorry guys. I guess that's the show. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna bring them back in. Every show it seems to do that at least once. But I gotta bring them all back.
There's problems on everybody.
Oh.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
Hey. It's okay. I didn't want to talk to you guys either. But yeah. So now it's you and Sarah switch spots, so now I gotta put you back.
Shit. Well, Sarah, we just got couch.
Yeah. Well, Sarah's got other priorities, so I get
love
it.
couch.
Sorry, guys. I'm riding the struggle bus a little bit here tonight.
It's all good.
My laptop was about to die. There we go. We're good.
You're what? You're platypus?
What?
Platypus is about to die.
No, I don't think that's what she said.
Not Perry.
What?
Oh, laptop.
Yeah.
I'd be sick if I had a platypus, though.
Yeah, those things are pretty cool. Speaking of animals, though, how do you deal with? So obviously, you got a whole family. You got kids. You got dogs. You got the whole kit and caboodle. Like, how do you manage the schedule and the travel with something like that?
It's a lot. We get a lot of help from family and watching kids and stuff like that. So we've got like our truck and our pickup camper that we can bring to every round. And so that's nice because we can like the rounds. We try to get the kids to like 4 rounds a year or as many as we can. So the first couple of rounds they're in school and the last couple they're in school. But over the middle of the year, like we'll travel with them when we can, and just make it like a family trip out of it, and they get to like experience the country. I think they're a little jaded to it just because they've been able to do it their whole life.
Right.
I spent my whole life like not leaving the state.
Yeah.
And so like traveling the country is like amazing to me. And they've been doing it their whole life. So they're like, whatever. I want to stare at a phone instead of looking out the window.
Right. That's funny.
Yeah. And then we've got, like we were talking about, we've got 3 Pomeranians. And usually we've tried to take all 3 to the track and it's way too much. And so usually we just have Tux. He's a little black Pomeranian. He's actually, I think we got him last year. And so his first top 16 was in Atlanta.
That's right. Yep.
So we had a puppy out in Atlanta. And so he comes to.
How did you make the decision to pick that dog over the others? Like, how can you have a favorite one,
Right? Yeah. It's
Is
tough.
there a seating bracket for the dogs?
He's more so he's not barking at people like that. He's super chill. And like I said, like from the time we got him to now, he's been around cars and stuff, so he's not skittish around anything and chill. And he's best friends with Wendy, Dan's dog.
Nice.
Oh, Wendy.
It makes for fun times. They can play.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of dogs though. Like they come to a lot of the FD rounds, so they get to chill with friends too.
And a duck.
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy animals there.
It's nice too because he's small enough. Like his whole life is like the center console is like his home.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Like, the center console. Like
Yeah, I can't do that with my
travel
dog.
forever, just chilling there.
Oh.
Yeah.
His little
That's
dojo.
funny. Yeah.
Damn.
Speaking of Minnesota though, what's it like now? Like I know there's like a drift series up there and stuff. Like it's actually kind of seems like it's actually kind of popping over there.
Yeah, no, it's been really good. We have ND Drift, which is they're up in they're in Sabin, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they built a track in 2019, kind of a drift specific track, and they've expanded like exponentially since they originally built it. They built the track and then they've been making upgrades. So like the whole story to that was it was a couple dudes had a performance shop in Fargo, and they ended up buying. There's a drag strip just right in town that went on out of business, and they ended up buying the property, and so they had a drag strip, and they ran drag racing for like a year, whatever, and then they ended up building the drift track, and so they've been a really good partner of ours for since the beginning, since we were in Pro 2, doing all of our like engine tuning, car tuning, and engine building. They do a lot of that. But yeah, it's super cool because it's like they've got a drift track up there, and then they also have like I think it's like a 14 bay shop with like a dyno and a showroom, and so it's like
Heck.
a one-stop shop. You can go up there and work on your car, get your car worked on, go test it. Like you can do everything up there, and then so that's really cool. That's been like they've done a lot of like really cool like little competition series too. So they do like it's kind of like similar to like the Drift Indie Street League and stuff.
Nice.
Is like this the track
What
that I pulled up?
What was that?
Is this the track that I pulled up? Is this the one?
No,
No. Okay.
I
see if
can't
can find it.
see the one behind you.
No, the one oh did I not?
Oh,
Sorry.
I can't see it.
You
Sorry,
got the
guys.
Ford version, Robin.
I'm special needs here. Oh,
Yeah.
that's why you're looking at the background. Okay.
Oh, yep, there it is.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the track. So they've got like a $5,000 to win like shootout series, and then they've got like a local drift series that they
Yeah.
run where they do like a 4-round series, and then they actually do they have a 10K to win shootout series.
Sick.
Not a series. That's just like a one-time event. Yeah, like a gambler style like
Yeah.
winner.
Well, it reminds me of the Clutch Kickers track a lot, actually.
Yep. And then they're doing Pro-Am too. So they've got like a 4-round Pro-Am series.
Nice.
They're busy up there. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And it's a super fun track. Like it's in like a stock Z, it's like a second or third gear track.
Mhm.
Like pretty slow speeds. It's actually like the big corner that you can see in the picture there is
Yeah.
like slightly bigger than New Jersey's corner. So
Wow.
it's relatively decent size.
Yeah, so you can get some speed on that one, huh?
But it's super fun for tandem. So just like bash events, like
Mm.
you can just run doors all day, and it's all cement too.
Yeah.
So it's really easy on tires, and yeah, it's a blast driving up there.
How many cars usually can you get at an event out here? Like, you guys got a decent driver list out there? Like,
Yeah, I would say most events are like 100 plus.
holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so cool because that's such a drastic change from when you started.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, because it was like 50 drivers, and then I would say like by the time I got to like 2017-ish, like a lot of those events were like selling out. We've got another track up here, BIR, that we go to, and that was kind of the main place that all the drifting was at prior to North Dakota.
Yeah.
So they've got a big fast road course and then a big skid pad. So they've been getting a lot more into the drifting lately. So there's a drift series up there that they run as well, and then a handful of like just other car events, like where drifting isn't necessarily the center of it.
Mhm.
Where a weekend of like drag racing and drifting and road course and stuff like that, and then the concert events that they let us come up and do demos and drift at and all that kind of stuff. So my old car, the old pro car, I actually sold to them, so that track owns it now.
Wow.
Sick. What are they gonna do with it?
So the son of the owner, he's 18 and he's been driving for like multiple years in a stock-ish Z, and so he wanted to like jump up and start doing like the Pro-Am series in Fargo and stuff, and so he got that, and so I've been helping him a little bit with that and like working his way up, getting used to the new car. making a ton of power.
That's sick. A proven chassis in pro already. So
it's fun too because like I get to see the other side of everything, and I get to like spot for him and like help him make changes, and like it's a kind of a change of pace, and it's nice to get out there and see the other side of it for once.
Has that kind of helped you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's funny because like when you're spotting, it's hard because like you can tell people exactly what to do, but actually having them do it is another thing. And I kind of experienced the same thing driving too. Like people, like my wife is my spotter for the most part, but like I had Reese spotted for me for 1 or 2 years, and like hearing exactly like what to do, it's really hard to sometimes implement that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, being on the other side, it's like I should probably listen to them more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
There's also muscle memory to contend with. Like if they're telling you to do these like minute, fine-tuned changes, you can't always get it done in the situation.
Yeah, and like it kind of makes you like, because a lot of like mistakes that you make on track, like by the time you see it, like if you're too deep in a zone or shallow, chances are you made a mistake like a long time ago that added up to that point. And so it kind of being able to look at that and like see that and put it into my own driving, that definitely helps. You can see like how the different momentum will really change the trajectory of the car, and and being that it's my old car and I kind of know exactly what it does. It helps seeing it from the outside for sure.
Do you have a favorite venue that you've driven at before?
Yeah, I would say my favorite track is probably I drove Horse Thief back in 2022 when they had the Grid Life event out there.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite track just because of the elevation change and like it's fun to drive.
It's a bucket list one for me too. I'd love to get out there someday.
It was for a long time for me, and so like when we got to go out there and drive it, it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean the thing with drifting is just so much more fun at when you're doing elevation changes. Yeah.
The other track that we have up here is US Air. That's like 5 hours.
Loved that track. I was actually nervous. I think I said this on the pod already. I was actually nervous when I was getting ready to drive there. Like, but an elevation change is a little intimidating, but as soon as you do it, it's just really fun.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Yeah.
I haven't driven that track a lot. I've driven it once actually, and that was in the truck. And it's a blast. It's so much fun to drive.
It's probably much better suited for the truck. It's a little bit small.
Yeah, the pro car is a little bit
might be a little too much car for it. Hey, speaking of that, I don't know if you've heard the clutch kickers rumors that they might be coming to Mid Pond.
Oh, really?
Okay, see, how are we? So, who did we have on last week who also didn't hear?
Mike Power.
Mike Power. Okay.
Where's Mid Pond?
Alabama.
Okay.
So that's probably mad far from you, huh?
Yeah, that's a minute.
I would say maybe a little 18 to 20 hours, I'd say.
So it might be like a season off. I don't know exactly about their plans. I saw they had made some changes to the track because it's infamously has like the tiniest parking lot ever. Like you stack trailers up against each other. Like I was more
too like the parking lot is not really big enough.
No, and I was more nervous to back my trailer in that tiny ass parking lot than to go drive on the track. But they've cleared a lot of acreage. I don't know if it looks, because I saw some photos, I don't know if it looks ready for next season.
Yeah.
But you know, if it comes back to being a thing at Mid Pond, whether it's next season or the season after that, do you see yourself maybe getting down there at all for some rounds? Or
it'd be a blast. I definitely like to drive more, and that was kind of that was my original plan, was to keep my old car and put like a 400 or 500 horsepower LS in it and just drive it for events like that. But then at the same time, it's like there's no, like, you can't drive two cars, and if I'm gonna get practice in a car, it might as well be the car that I'm gonna drive.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, you're gonna add more wear and tear to it, but you're gonna have to do maintenance on either one anyways.
Yeah.
So it's like I can pulley this car down and make way less power, and like this one's made to be crashed. Like it's not a big deal. It's, shit happens. And a lot of those events, it's like there's not as much of a chance of, hitting a wall like Irwindale and like really messing the chassis up.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of that was when I like decided to sell the other car. Like I'm just gonna make this one more, a broader area range of being able to drive it, and so being able to like just change a pulley on the back of the supercharger and go from like 1,000 or 1,100 horsepower down to like 500 or 600.
Right.
Yeah, just be able to go bash with it.
So you wouldn't take the truck down and hustle some dorks on the small track?
No, I'm just thinking of smashing the truck. Like that's kind of like getting into the S13 territory where stuff is hard to find now.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it looks like it's got a kit on it of some sort now.
Yeah, so it's got like fiberglass wide. They're actually like a trophy truck kind of fender.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. So that was actually new this year. But yeah, I'd like to bring that out for like the grid life events and stuff where there's not necessarily as much tandem, more just like a city
for fun
kind of event, and not risk as much of it getting smashed.
Yeah,
but still have fun with it. Like I'm not, shit happens. I'm not going to cry about it. But
exactly, yeah.
Only a little, 1 tear.
Yeah, right.
Local cereal asks, what's some of your favorite go-to meals, trackside or on the road?
We always have to have the Uncrustables. That's a must.
Oh. Yes.
Dude, an Uncrustable will bring me back to life.
Yeah, exactly. It's
pretty damn
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You got everything.
You can't really beat one of those, honestly.
But,
no.
Yeah, so that's a must. That's always at the track for us.
Pro tip: I think it's Costco. They have these like, I don't want to say knockoff Uncrustables because they're just as good, if not maybe a little bit better. They're like square and they're a little bit bigger.
They have a funny name too. Like it's such a knockoff name. I forget what it is.
I think it's Crust Offs. I think they're called Crust Offs, which is like you're getting sued immediately. But I love them. And
Maybe
strawberry
because it's such a bad name.
This podcast episode was brought to you by Crust Offs.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, that's hilarious.
Yeah. That's the best.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna see if I can hit a couple more of these questions while we get through here. It looks like we had a little disconnection with the chat, but it looks like it's connected now. So someone in the chat, let me know if you guys can still hear us. I think we're good, but I just get this little notification. Oh, your chat's disconnected. I'm like, I hope not.
I don't get that one. I'm just rolling over here.
Yeah. No, but like another question that we were kind of I wanted to ask was what keeps you going? Like what in drifting kind of keeps you coming back for more? Is it because you're at the top level, you're like, okay, now this is my opportunity to like make this a thing, or is it because like you could go do other motorsports, right?
Yeah. I think it's just the progression. There's always a want to be a little bit better, and that goes for like so many different aspects too. Like we're driving. There's also progression in like the networking and business side of it, and there's like getting better and growing, your whole program. So it's just like the all around progression is fun to make happen. And it's like every year is just a little bit better as far as that goes. So yeah, I think that keeps me going a little bit. It's tough, like as far as just the driving goes. I feel like the last couple of years have been kind of stagnant. Like we haven't really gotten the results that I'm looking for. And I think a lot of that is the result of just having the program, I don't have like anyone that really helps with suspension a lot.
Yeah.
So like a lot of that is just done by me in the car. So I don't have a lot of output or input from outside the car. So just like growing the program in those aspects, I think, it's just like, there's always more to be had in like, so.
If there was another motorsport that you'd want to do, what would it be?
So the last couple of years, I've been getting into, not really getting into it, but I've had my eye on the short course stuff.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
it's nice because it's like based around us in the Midwest.
Yep.
So all the events are kind of semi-local, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, North Oklahoma, I think is another one.
Okay.
But they're all Midwest, so like the travel isn't quite as big.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like so fucking fun, like
Oh yeah.
jumping trucks and drifting and all that kind of stuff. We actually had a couple of weeks ago, we had Chris Van Den Elzen, he drives a Pro Spec truck, and
Yep.
we had him. He was up with us, and we were tooling around at BIR with drift car, doing tandems with his truck. And
Yeah. Didn't he recently post the video?
Yeah. We did a whole video on it. It's going to be coming out in the next couple of days. I've been posting like a story about it each day.
Is there like
And,
a teaser or something I can show off?
If you jump, I don't know if they've got like a bunch of little teasers they put together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you jump on my Instagram, he's got me tagged in all of them. So yeah, it was the original plan was to have my Z up there and his truck, and we were gonna do a bunch of tandem stuff. But then obviously my motor blew up, so I didn't have my car. So we had Austin Matta come up. So we had his S14, and then I was driving another S13. And yeah, it was just a good time. Had a bunch of fun. Kind of had the track to ourselves, and got to rip around. So, but yeah, that's like the short course stuff. Definitely looks like a ton of fun. So I could see myself going that route eventually, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna see it. I'm just quick pulling it up over
Yeah.
here, so I gotta.
I got a quick one for you. This might be hard, but
Yeah.
like, what keeps you coming back year after year to FD? Like, what is that motivation? How do you get yourself excited about it? How do you still keep that passion that we obviously hear about?
Yeah,
Talking about it.
It's been tough, honestly. Like the last few years have been pretty rough. Like it's hard to, like I said, when you're not getting a lot of results and things are kind of stagnant,
Mhm.
it's hard to justify sometimes.
Right.
And it's like we put so much work on it, and like everything in our life goes into it, and to
Yeah.
come out of it without being super hyped on your results is really hard.
Yeah.
So that's definitely been tough. I think a lot of it is just like I said, that wanting more out of it, and it's
sure.
like we just have to keep pushing in order to get to that point. You talk to pretty much any driver out there who's running their own program, and everyone's always kind of goes through that phase of like, you get into it and you get to a certain level, and then things get hard. And so I think just pushing through that is a big thing. And so I think we're kind of at that phase where it's like we're trying to figure out what's next, what we're missing, and
Right.
how to get to that next level. So
For sure.
that's it's like I said, it's tough to keep the passion going sometimes. Like I'm not going to say it's like
Of
we're passionate about it 100% of the time, because it's like
course not. Yeah.
that it's hard.
Mhm.
Hard to keep going. And but yeah, like you always keep that hope,
Yeah.
There's,
Well, good. I have a feeling it's going to happen for you one
Yeah,
of these days,
yeah.
dude. I think you're
that's
setting
kind of
yourself
my
up.
mindset is like, don't give up, and
Yeah.
eventually it's got to happen.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
So
video?
yeah, I was about to say, this is them kind of talking about what they're doing. But you want to just kind of give me a quick breakdown on what's going on with this truck. Like what is in it?
It's actually really cool. So it's a class in the short course stuff. It's called Pro Spec. They run V6, so it's a 4.3 like GM V6. So it's just a spec motor. So like you buy it for like, I think he said it was like a 10 grand package, and you get the motor and ECU, and it's all sealed. So everything is like, you can't like modify it. So all the cars are the same.
Right.
And they have like a spec gear ratio in the back, and like the cars are all very equivalent. I think it makes like 300 horsepower, so it's not like crazy. Super like manageable as far as like cost and everything.
Yeah.
You can just rip on them, like they're so tough. and jumping them and just banging limiter. And like it's funny because they actually run the same side drift transmission that I run in the Z.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of funny, but yeah, super fun.
That's cool. And the video is dropping December 9th, it looks like, so be on the lookout for that. And obviously, if you want to have for more information on this fun video they did, go follow Alex.
Yeah, we got like I said, we've been posting like little teasers of it each day until it comes out. So keep an eye on it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to drop your little shout out to your social media handles or YouTube channel or anywhere that you want them to follow along?
Yeah, so all of it is, we keep it easy. It's all at Alec Robbins Racing. Yeah, so you can hit that up. Yeah,
Nice. Make sure you go follow him, check it out.
not a whole lot actually. We're not super active on the Facebook anymore, but that's I think at Alec Robbins 35.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Are there any rivalries in FD?
Yeah, Phil asked, are there any rivalries or should there be? I feel like you got buddies you want to beat though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's always like that. Like there's people like, I think like I kind of have that mindset with Dan a little bit, where it's just like a fun, like I feel like we're very similar in certain ways, and as far as like driving styles and stuff. And it's always like super close battles with him. Like I don't think I've ever had a battle with him that didn't go one more time or like multiple one more times. So it's just super fun. And I wouldn't really say it's like, there's really not a lot of rivalries in NFD. And I don't know, maybe
it's not a drifting vibe. Like
we're all too nice.
It's more a friendly rivalry. Yeah. It's more like, oh, I want to run him, or like, oh, I want to beat my teammate more than I want to beat other people because it's like this friendly thing we have going.
Yeah, it's not like NASCAR where like
you
get pissed off and they're like wrecking each other, like
throwing helmets at the cars.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the community's still like too small. Like we're all too close to like really get mad at each other.
Now there's been characters in the past. But Christoph Blust isn't running anymore, and I mean he gets a couple hotheads out there like Justin Pollock. I know everyone once in a while will blow a gasket, but
they're passionate. The European guys get passionate.
I started out putting cameras on FD cars like way back in the day as one of my first jobs, and Christoph Blust screams on the line, and the first time I was sticking a GoPro on his roof, I wasn't ready for it, and he's like, and something else, like screaming at top of his lungs, and I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? But then after that, I was like, oh, he's just hyping himself up with Max, and then I was like, damn, okay, keep me on my toes, why don't you?
I mean,
in my car, you can't hear kids yelling, so.
Well, the thing is like the hard thing with FD, and I guess this is one of my critiques of FD, and something I like that Driftmasters does, is you guys at least get out of the car to like congratulate her after battles and stuff. Because it is kind of hard to get a personal touch when you guys are inside the car, because we can't. There's no like live camera inside the car. Just people see like your reactions and stuff like that. So like whenever you pick a winner, all you really see is the graphic, and then the car is driving away. There's no like you can't really see.
Yeah, I think like having a live in-car camera would definitely make it a little bit more intimate with the drivers.
Yeah.
It sucks getting out of the car. Like there's so much stuff hooked up to us.
Your full shirt and your hot.
I always get out of the car and I'm like all tangled up in everything. And
exactly.
It's a lot, but yeah, having a little bit more of like people seeing the driver outside the car, definitely.
Because obviously the main thing people are going to be watching is the live stream, and I mean, the one time that you see the actual person in the live stream is either A, when they're working on the car, or B, when they're doing like top 16 intros, and then everything else is like you guys are always in the car.
Yeah, and I think even in Driftmasters, like even just their handheld cameras, I feel like they like on the line are getting up in the drivers' faces and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
giving them like thumbs up and everything. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
half those guys, I mean, I feel like keep their doors open too. I don't know what it is over there, but you guys
Yeah,
are like,
they
I'm
do.
going to leave my door open as the light's going down and then I'll shut it. It's like,
I feel like a lot of them have. They all run windows over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
So yeah, I feel like just having the windows, like you almost have to have the door open for a little while.
yeah.
Keeping it cool for one last second, the airflow, and then it's like, all right.
Brutal.
It's just one of those things I find a little funny. But yeah,
I was
I
thinking
mean,
the other day. I think they need to change like the top 16 and have it like Supercross or like Monster Jam where we like drive the cars out. You know what I mean?
oh, that'd be
Like,
cool.
pace each driver a little bit. Like have us be able to drive out and do like a halfway freestyle run where we can just like do donuts or whatever.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just hype up. I think that would be so much more entertaining than
It's
walking.
kind of what they used to do. Honestly, back when it was on G4, back in the day, they used to do stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
We were too late.
Yeah.
But no,
I mean, their argument would be like, okay, yeah, and then someone's going to blow an engine and we're going to take 30 minutes to clean that up, you know? So.
Right, yeah.
Don't blow an engine. Good
Yeah.
God.
it's like, what about all the track walk tickets that we can't sell now?
That's true. Yeah.
It is real. Some of the tracks, like I gotta say, I did nerd out a bit. Like Irwindale, there was a few tracks where I actually got to go on the track, and I was like, "All right, this is pretty sick. I get why people do this."
Yeah. It's
Every time I'm
amazing.
at Utah,
If you haven't
track it on.
to go on a track and like see the rubber,
Mm-hmm.
how much
And it,
rubber
like,
actually
it,
lay down, it's wild.
feels different. It's like you're in a sports stadium or you're down at the 50-yard line. It's like it's got that vibe to it. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if Irwindale's there next year.
It's not
I think
supposed to
it's
be.
done. I don't think they
Yeah.
were messing around.
Yeah.
What if they punked us? What if it gets to like February and they're like, "Psych, we're back."
We got cold feet again.
We'll believe it once the grandstands are down.
Yeah,
I know,
I'm
right?
with you on that one. I'll believe it once it's actually.
Well, it was kind of like the same thing with like Abisu, where then they filled it in with dirt. I was like, damn, they actually did it again.
Yeah.
I mean,
all the smoke that Englishtown gets constantly from the olds that are like, they tore up the drag strip with machines. It's still there. Like, it just has cars parked on it.
Yeah.
Calm yourself.
those could still come back if you decided that you wanted to spend some bucks.
I just
Right,
go,
exactly.
hey guys, like, stop crying. Come check out drifting. It's sideways burnouts. We can all enjoy it. All right.
Yeah.
It's so much quicker and easier. Like drag racing gets like they're so picky about the track and like.
I feel like it gets real expensive if you want to actually be competitive in
They
drag
rebuilt
racing.
the motor in the top two cars between every run.
Oh yeah, Top Fuel's ridiculous. They're like.
But
it's
even
insane.
like if you want to do like something fun like no prep, where it's actually kind of scary, you know, it's like
Yeah,
it's like
cool.
even that stuff's like kind of super expensive.
yeah, they get really hairy. That'd be scary.
I
Have you
still
ever-
remember my first no prep. I went to a no prep in Michigan here, and it was below freezing. It had dropped into like the 30s, and every other run there was a crash. It was so sketchy.
That's super sketchy because it's like even with drift cars, like
Yep.
as soon as it gets like below, like into the 30s, like the tires just get hard and there's no way to make track.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh
get
yeah,
in.
I know. I drifted this weekend and I had no grip, zero.
Yeah,
We were
so-
talking about that right
Yeah.
before you hopped on. Like, there's rain drifting, and then there's like patchy rain drifting, and then there's patchy rain ice drifting.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
almost don't even do it.
Yeah. No, I was
Yeah,
ice
that's one
drifting
thing
this
I'd like to see
weekend.
more of up here. I feel like we need to like do more winter stuff
Yeah. Well,
because
Yeah.
it wouldn't be that difficult, especially if you get like a track, then you get like a nice layer of snow and ice. Then
Yep.
just take the cars out, put some like winter tires on the back of the car.
yeah,
That's what we were saying.
I
If
mean,
it was like,
it's all perfectly smooth ice.
Mm-hmm.
right, like consistent the whole time, ice the entire time, then you know what the car is going to do.
Yep. Yeah, I know. Like Josh Robinson, he comes up here usually every year with the Texas Drift Academy cars, and
Yep.
I went out there and did that with him one year, and it's super fun. Like,
Nice.
And you can drive all day, right?
yeah,
That's crazy.
you have to like it's you go. So we spent I think 4 hours of driving when I
Wow.
went up there. And I think we went through like 2 or 3 tanks of fuel, and like my arms hurt by the end of the day because like you just don't like. We would do like 2 laps, and then you actually do have to let the tires cool off a little bit.
Okay.
It's like hot, and then they'll shoot out. But it's still like the tracks are like they had a lake, and they had probably 40 different track layouts plowed into it, and so it's just like super fun. Like you can
That's
just
so
drive.
cool.
That was a blast. I would definitely recommend that if anyone wants to come up here and drive on ice. That's the way to do it. And yeah, he brings up a couple of cars, and you can rent them, and it's a blast.
That sounds awesome.
I know some people that do that up in like upstate New York,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same thing. Last year, I don't know if they were able to do it except for one time.
Yeah, I don't know if Josh was even up here last year, but yeah, like out in Norway, they do it all the time.
Oh yeah.
And all those are always
It's one of the best ways to learn, honestly, because you are getting all the fundamentals. But
it just cracks me up when I see Osbo in like a I think it's a Mark V Supra, just ripping around. I'm just like, dude, that thing's worth so much over here.
Like with the studded tires too, I feel like it's comparable to like a 245-ish tire on tar.
Yeah,
like it's not super slick, and they make a decent amount of grip, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, I used to drift around a Subaru with winter tires, and it's kind of scary how fast it is. It's like, this is kind of dangerous.
Snow is hard because like with all-wheel drive, like you can get going pretty fast, but you can't stop.
No, you can't stop. No, you're stopping. You might as well just rip the e-brake and try to spin the car around and use the grip to get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. I think we finally made it to the part of the show, which is my favorite part of the show, and it's the Andy Luck story time show, or part of the show. That's the Andy Luck stories.
Right.
So
everyone's got one.
Everyone, yeah.
The question is, do you have one? Which you're a part of everyone, so you obviously do.
But yeah, he almost kicked me out of the track one time.
I mean, sounds like him. Yes.
Yeah, and it was like I had no idea who he was at the time either. Like it was one of my first Pro 2 events.
Yeah.
And it was St. Louis. We were coming to load in, and since that's the closest round to us, it's like 9 hours. So we just drove it in one day. So we left in the morning, and we got down there like after load in had closed. So it was like 7 p.m. or whatever, and we're just like, yeah, we'll just pull in. Like FD like sent us a roadmap of like how to get into the track and like where to park and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we get there and we pull in and we like follow the map and we drive around this road, and then like the gates closed off. So we're like sitting there trying to figure out what to do. And then this minivan comes fucking ripping up and slams out his brake. He gets out just furious. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Why are you here? Like, what is going on? Like, just all this stuff. And we're like, what? I have no idea what's going on. Like, what is happening? And apparently after they had sent out the map, they like redid it, and we would have known that had we been there on time, you know?
Yeah.
Because they had repaved like the pit road after the like where the IndyCar track is or whatever.
Yeah.
So they had repaved it, and then so apparently no one was supposed to drive on it, and we had like the big truck with a 44-foot trailer. And so he was super pissed off. He's like, I don't even want, like, just go home, just leave. And like he was just super pissed. And then Kevin's in the passenger seat of the van, like no, just you're okay. Just like kind of reassuring us. And then we ended up talking to Kevin. He's like, yeah, just pull around, like you got to go in this way. And it was all good. But yeah, he was furious, and like I felt terrible because like I don't know what's going on, and like he's just like I feel like I just like ruined what
the whole event
he thinks of me. And, so yeah, that was my first experience with Andy, and then we podiumed that event, so that was our first podium.
Wow, what a roller coaster.
Right.
Imagine if you had just like taken him seriously and just
I think he was calling me something for like a couple of rounds after that, like truck guy or something.
Yeah.
That tracks.
You're the one that
Hey,
pulled it on the wrong. Yeah. So
if you're gonna do something bad, you're gonna get a nickname probably.
Yep. I think he's finally forgot about it. Maybe he'll watch this and remember. But
I don't think he forgets things. He'll bring up old things from the past, like out of nowhere, and just cut you real deep. He does that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's great though.
He's good stuff. Once you get to know him,
Of
he's
course.
been good to us the last few years. So
Yeah, one of our favorites.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's not bad running. It's all good. Everybody's got at least one
I mean,
bad running.
That's just
I
how
mean-
he introduces himself, by yelling at you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's what happens.
and you can either hang or you don't.
Yep.
You just leave. You could just leave.
you could just leave, you know.
You could just leave. Probably shouldn't.
No.
No, great story. I'm loving that. I love that you podiumed at the end as well. That kind of just makes a little cherry on top.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
awesome.
You know, oh, Malik, look at who came in finally. Malik finally
nice of
showed
you to
up.
Join us, cutting class.
Yeah, dude. One of the regulars is like, oh yeah, I'll just show up now. I
Well,
mean,
about to wrap
we're
it
at
up,
an hour 45 already. I mean, we're only already been almost 2 hours, which is crazy. Every time I do this, I'm like, how does time fly so
I
fast?
know.
You know,
Right. No, it feels like I have enough to talk about for 4 minutes. And
Right? we
I know
laughed,
you-
we cried, we talked about the Nissan hardbody a whole lot. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan, you know.
dude, I just want to see that thing drive again. We need more trucks and drifting. We need more trucks and drifting. Like, somebody bring out a Silverado, please.
Yeah.
Girl, what the
Full size.
Such a
Yeah, it got me
Midwest
like
guy.
even just watching who's the dude that does he did a lot of the grid life events with like that wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like seeing that out there, it's like, dang, I need to get something cool out there again.
Well, it's just one of those things where I like unique chassis. Like, my favorite chassis to see driving is like an old Volvo wagon. Like, I love those boxes, and so I just want more fun things.
Yeah.
We're with you.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, like, even like a truck, they come with like big engines. You already got the torque.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
The full size trucks at least.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people do the full size trucks.
This is a shitty salesman. At this
I did.
Yeah, I don't think you have us sold on full size trucks, but maybe some like
They
truck
just could use some, like, I don't know how you could like
Interesting
bank shift a
chassis.
clutch and
Yeah.
somehow, you know.
I feel like
Hey,
I feel like full size trucks just don't look right.
No.
No, I mean,
You get a mini truck out there and like at
Mini
least kind
trucks.
of blend in with the cars and
dude,
it's
yeah.
cool.
Mini trucks are
that
definitely
two-wave
cool.
red Silverado that they had though is pretty sick with the twin turb skis sticking out the hood.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just all-wheel drive.
That
just
car was
goes-
at Seattle, actually.
Oh, that
Yeah, that truck was at Seattle.
Yeah,
The red one?
two-wave, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, the red one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's tough.
Well,
That's cool.
it's just one of those things where like you watch it do donuts and it's like it's not. In my opinion, I'm like, okay, that's not impressive, but it's got bazillion views, you know, just because it's a diesel truck, you know.
Yeah.
Or like I've seen another diesel truck that's literally like drifting a couple corners, and it's like, okay, but like Alex does this every day, way faster.
Yeah.
It's like
He literally won a championship in a truck, underpowered, not a great setup, and just like
Yeah. It's just you can drive whatever you want.
yeah,
No,
it's
that-
just
that's good.
yeah. It would be interesting to see if there was ever a way to get a truck style setup to actually work, or like
Well, I
anything.
mean, Josh Robinson, he had the Ute.
that's
I think
right.
That's the closest you can get to a truck.
Yep. And he made it. I mean, that car was fast. I think he still was trying to find setup some of the time on that car, but
That was the year that they went to the 255 tire rule, and so his car was just way too heavy
yeah.
for the small tire.
Mhm.
So that was his biggest thing. 'Cause,
Nice.
then I think he went to E46, I think, or maybe a Eurofighter.
Yeah, he had a Eurofighter, I think he went to.
Yeah, he did something for the last couple of years, but
hmm Yeah, it is interesting just seeing what drivers kind of stay in, stick out, or like come in and come out. It just from a financial side, like when I hear how much money you guys are spending, even for the cheap teams to just do this every year, it's just like I feel for you guys. Like it's just so much, you know. And
yeah,
I'm
to be honest,
surprised.
I have idea how we've made it this long. It's
A lot of
insane.
ramen, baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of Uncrustables, crust-offs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
Impressive.
Just
No.
memories, dude. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
All right. Yeah. Do you guys have any final questions for Alec?
Speak now, or you'll have to go ask him on his own social media.
Yep.
Yeah, but she does respond to, so you should
Yeah.
you should mention him if you guys have any questions. Make sure Alec
Yeah.
Robbins Racing. It's kind of a
Yeah. Hit me up. I'm always down to.
Literally Alec Robbins, dude.
I know.
What are we having kind of fun on the live stream tonight? And then we're gonna probably be posting a couple of clips.
Oh yeah, we'll
Just
post stuff.
recapping this. Make sure you guys comment on those as well. Follow Daily Driver Media if you're not already following, and engage. Tag him, tag us. We'll chat on there. Keep the conversation going.
Yeah, if you guys have like other ideas that we want to see in the future too, it'd be kind of cool. Phil keeps asking about East Coast versus West Coast, but here's the problem,
Phil,
buddy.
he's
He's
a
from the
West Coast guy.
Midwest,
Yeah,
so it's
I
like he has no dog in this fight.
Midwesters, you guys have this like little. You're like the sleeper cell. Like everyone counts you guys out. Oh, East Coast, West Coast, and then you come in and you get your shit rocked by a little truck.
Yeah. That's how it works. It's cool seeing though a lot of that. There's a handful of dudes coming from the Midwest now. We got Austin and Cody and another dude from North Dakota is going to be out there this year. So
That's
Sick.
cool. You know, it's just not a place you would think of drifting. You know, Minnesota.
Right.
It's not the first thing I think of up there.
think of cornfields.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Phil says
yeah.
you're unbiased, so you could theoretically say, you know, but
So,
I don't know. They both have, I feel like East and West Coast are just way different styles.
For sure.
Like,
yeah.
East Coast has like that Bloodmasters, like grassroots
Mhm.
vibe to it, like super hardcore stuff.
Mhm.
And West Coast is more like I feel like there's more drifting out there.
Well, what I would say is that they're just like there's a lot more money out
Well,
there
you got
in
all
terms of
The
cars.
illusion of money.
Yeah.
I mean, up here we stopped drifting. Now it's over.
Yeah, we done.
It's
Right.
time out time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, for the most
Parking for
part,
the
you guys
winter.
know too. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hibernate time.
yeah, see, that's the thing. We get off seasons, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
West Coast,
that's
there's
like-
no excuse. They
There's
should.
no way I'd be able to live somewhere where there's not an off season. There's just no
Yeah.
recovery time.
Right.
Right. You reset the car, you work on the car a little bit, you reset your own mentality. By the time April rolls around, you're like gnawing at the bars of your enclosure, trying to
It
get
does
a lap
suck,
in.
Like most of the time, I get to Long Beach, and that's the first time I've driven in like 6 months. Like, yeah, that can be pretty rough. But
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's true. But
Do you do any sim driving, anything to prep for the first round of the year?
I started to do a little bit of sim driving at the end of last year.
Cool.
Yeah, kind of the last off season, I started doing it a little bit. But yeah, I haven't done it a ton yet.
us old geezers have to get into it, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just terrible at drifting when I jump on it because it
Me too. Yeah.
doesn't like. I feel like it doesn't translate the other way. Like people can get on a sim and then drive a real car, but when you drive
Great point.
forever and then you jump on a sim, it's just
Yeah,
it's
100%.
get used to.
For
No,
sure.
it is true.
You don't got the butt dyno.
Exactly. Yeah, I drive so much off of feel.
Yeah.
You got
Yep.
to. Awesome. Well, again, I want to thank you, buddy, for jumping on here. It was a
Yeah.
great time. I know the first thing you said to me, I was like, I don't know if I have a whole lot to really speak on. I'm like, bro, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
It's
We
a chill hangout.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
will find things to talk about, you know.
Yep. No, it was good.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And again,
I like
appreciate
background.
Sarah and Herbie for coming on. Make sure you go check
Yeah.
them out. Do you guys have anything going on, or Herbie? You just, I mean, I appreciate that you've at least stayed on your casting couch this week.
Yo, I didn't drop connection one time.
I know I did. Could you imagine? I was talking so much smack last week. Now here's the boy showing me
Yo,
out.
what's up, Sean? You want to come in and say what's up real quick?
I mean, to be at least though, you guys' internet now works to where you're not at like 1 frame a second. So
We're hardwired.
What we're
Okay.
ending right now.
yeah, I mean,
But yeah, thank you so much for coming out. It's great to talk to you on here. You had a ton of insight, so you definitely have more than 4 minutes if you need that for future reference. And everybody who's still on here or rewatching this, make sure you go follow him on all social media.
Yeah,
show him some love.
Hello, people.
Sean
We're on the
too.
casting couch.
Let's go.
Did you hear him?
Yeah.
on the
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, and they're ready for their close-up.
There you go. And it's great that we've learned that Alec can last longer than 4 minutes, so it's always a good thing.
Surprise myself sometimes.
Yeah. And that's how we're gonna end it off here, guys. Again, thank you for watching the stream, and until next time, we'll see you later.